Okay, recording? Okay, we're recording. All right. Hello. Welcome back to Bookcasting. Today I decided to talk about something a bit different in terms of music. Now, I'm not going to play any music because, copyright insanity, and I don't want to be dealing with that at the moment. But nevertheless, I'll try and talk about this music as effectively as I can. So I'm a big fan of rock music. I've listened to quite a bit of rock music. I wouldn't say I know everything about the genre because there's like so many subgenres and so much history. I only know so much about it, and there's still a lot I'd like to learn. But I want to talk about one specific area of rock music, basically the era of rock music that I grew up with, which is kind of honestly looking back on it, one of the most fascinating, least talked about, and in many ways most underrated era of rock music that ever kind of happened. Specifically, oh fuck it, I'll just say I'm specifically going to talk about Christian rock. Now I know you're gonna like go ha 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 ha. Like Christian rock has been, the butt of the joke for many a show for many a reason because Christian rock has mostly been like shit. Yeah, and that's not being mean. It's true. For decades upon decades upon decades, the very concept of Christian rock sucked. But unfortunately, what happened was kind of like the boy that cried wolf. When they kept saying, "Oh, we're making good," rock music, but not really, for decades. By the time they actually did something that was really good, most people didn't know anything about it. And it's doubly interesting not only because when they started making good rock music is when rock music was starting to die out, especially around like the 2005 to 10 range. Yeah, where just the last vestiges of rock music was still kind of mainstream before sort of hip hop and so forth took over. And it's really a fascinating time for rock music because it's first time where they didn't just make like, let's say, Christian propaganda that happened to be rock music, but rather rock music that happened to be made by Christian bands that often weren't even overtly or explicitly religious, to the point that even an atheist could listen to a song and go, if I wasn't told that it was Christian, I wouldn't have known it. And because of that, we ended up having this phenomenal era of rock music. It's like Christians were able to catch up on all the rock music that had been going on for the past decades and implement it in multiple different ways, leading to good to great bands of various degrees, depending on your personal taste and preference, of differing types of rock music, from sort of like pop punk to like metal and screamo metal and new metal and so on and so forth. And and I made a whole playlist sort of giving you a rundown of the various bands at that time, again generally from like the 2005ish range to 2010s, with a few exceptions very early 2000s. Though to be fair, although this change did seem kind of all of a sudden to occur, it did start to change in that direction in the 90s when you had bands like POD, that was actually a Christian rock band that was actually popular enough that you would have definitely heard of at least one of the POD songs from like the Matrix albums, because like in the soundtrack with the rock band soundtrack, some of the songs were from POD. Yeah. Yeah, so that was a sort of almost precursor to what was going to happen. In the 2000s, it really went ahead, and like I won't be able to talk about like all the bands and the songs that I've listened to at the time and which one's the best. Well, I'll try to talk about some of the best ones. Like first off, if you haven't listened to Switchfoot Selling the News, like this one at the top right here, go listen to that. Like, that song is so fucking prevalent. The fact that it apparently was made in 2015 is pretty freaking crazy, considering how we would look upon that song more so nowadays than when it was released. It's aged like a fine wine. And then Miserable Visu. Dude, Amberlin's Miserable Visu, I just feel should be recognized as a rock classic, okay? Like let me explain what Miserable Visu is like, okay? Imagine a sort of U2-like-esque song, but doing something like an epic rock song like Stairway to Heaven, but about Armageddon in the biblical epic lore sense of it. and you have an idea of what Miserably Visu is like, it's so good. It's so fucking good. I just, damn, that's a good song. and oh, Family Force 5. Okay, I cannot really think of a band or a group or however you want to call it that's like Family Force 5. It's like, especially the early days of Family Force 5. Like, look at their amazing, the most epic dance album they ever made was like Dance or Die. You know, Dance or Die, Die for You. All those songs, which just like, they're such bangers. Like, every one of them. And I can't, it's hard to, like, you have to listen to it to understand, because like, it's hard to describe it because there's not much comparison to anything else, especially their early albums. Unfortunately, what happened later on is they got more, they became quote-unquote sellouts and made more lousy EDM stuff. But the earlier stuff, when they were doing stuff like Country Gentleman and Love Addict, and then of course Dance or Die, Radiator, you know, stuff like that, it's like really fucking great, you know. And then Relient K, which just makes some really fun like pop punk music that's yeah, it could be really fun. And same with MXPX here. Skillet did some just sort of like just normal metal music, not too screamo focused, but yeah, really fun stuff. Songs like Feel Like a Monster are incredible. And then there's POD, which I mentioned earlier, which actually got popular more so in the 90s. But in the 2000s, they made one of my favorite songs here with When Angels and Serpents Dance, using their sort of new metal-esque style with biblical lore. Really fun. And mind you, when I say biblical lore, I mean like Bible-accurate angels, that kind of thing. And not like preachy, you know, that. I mean like in terms of the mythology, if you like, to use that terminology. Yeah. Speaking of which, one of the things that I find really surprising at that time was that even some bands that weren't necessarily that good ended up making some good songs. Jars of Clay made a couple of amazing songs at this time with Dead Man Carry Me and Work, which, when you listen to those songs and then compare it to like their normal bread and butter music, it's so night and day different. It's insane. Yeah, and that also even goes for like Sing This Real's I'm Not Alright. Mostly a lousy band, but that song I'm Not Alright, though simple, is incredibly effective. Oh, 5 Foot 56. Dude, it's just like, I don't know, they have a bagpipe in it while still being a rock band. Like, we need more bagpipe rock band music, period. Yeah. There's nothing. Yeah, see, this is Dance or Die I was mentioning earlier. Oh, this is another amazing epic from Amberlin, kind of the same vein like Miserable Visu, though it's not about apocalypse, but it's still an epic song called Finn. Great. Oh, you probably heard of this song, I'm So Sick, which, again, you know, if you listen to that, you probably wouldn't even realize it was religious. And then you got, like, Bread's Breathe Into Me and Dear X. Oh, Showbread, dude. Showbread is so good. It's such a good band. Oh, fuck. But, oh, there's Jars of Clay, which I was mentioning earlier, and... anyways. Yeah, see, there's another band that, To Know That You're Alive, though, is, like... anyways, I'm sorry rambling on like this. It's just, like... The music at the time was, like, really, really freaking good. Yeah. And, like, for most of it anyways, if you listen to it, you probably would never even realize that it was, Christian. You know, I'm sure the only reason you know it now is because I told you. Like, if you listen to songs out of context, you would never have known. Oh, dude, Caspian. The band Caspian is so fucking good. It deserves way more attention than it's ever gotten, and I think it's a bloody crime. Like, fuck. Just The Last Rites is so... Oh, it's just beautiful instrumental rock music. It's so fucking good. I love it so much. They got some awesome screamo metal here with As I Lay Dying. Oh, there's some more Demon Hunter screamo metal music. You know, fuck. This just... Oh yeah, this is Showbird's A Man with a Hammer. Probably my favorite album from them. Such a good album. I don't think it was called Man with a Hammer. Oh, Who Can Know It? Who Can Know It? Album Who Can Know It? Dude, yeah. Who Can Know It is amazing. Amazing album. I mean, it's like it would be one of those albums I would like buy on a record if I could. Same thing with like I think it's called. I think the album for Switchfoot's Vice Versa's is album like amazing, and like with songs like Selling the News and Black Choruses, I think it's called. It's fucking awesome, man. And then Children 18.3 is such a good like just like classic like normal like punk band. It's really good. Fuck. I wish I could honestly play these songs, but like I said, copyright's a pain in the ass, and I just don't want to deal with that. Oh yeah, there's when I was mentioning Dark Horses there, but yeah, it's just like that's why I made this. Oh, also shout out for like Heath McNeese. And he's not quite rock music, but he just makes damn good music. You know, he does like kind of folk stuff and kind of country stuff, and then occasionally kind of rock stuff too. He's brilliant artist, honestly, all around. I don't understand how he's so unknown. Um, yeah, it's just fucking good times, dude. This this is a Super Chick song, Guitar Hero. It's just an epic rock guitar solo. It is so much fun. Oh yeah, there's I think it's called Captiva. I think it's called this band here, or maybe that's the album song. I forget. Oh yeah, I get it. It's Falling Up, but the band's called Captiva. Gotcha. That's a damn good album. Oh, Manifest, No Plan B. Fun album there. And Alex Burns Red. Oh, here's another example of not necessarily a good band, but they made a really fun song with Blaze of Glory, which is kind of crazy. And yeah. I'm sorry. I know I'm just kind of rambling on, but like the thing is, it's just incredibly amazing that after years of Christian rock music mostly being lousy, that when rock music's slowly dying out of mainstream popularity, Christians finally fucking get it and made some of the best underrated rock songs, albums, and even bands in some cases that have just kind of been tragically neglected simply because they're just labeled as being directly Christian and people don't, care for them much. Oh, Project 86! Yeah, that's another amazing band. Fuck, yeah. This is why I deliberately made the playlist and I sort of went around gathering as much great Christian rock music at this time in particular. Yeah, maybe part of it is nostalgia because I grew up with a lot of this music, but honestly, a lot of it is just the fact that the majority of the music is good to excellent depending on the band and the song. And also it depends on, I guess, your taste and preference. Do you prefer something more new metal-esque, like maybe POD or yeah, Pillar, I think would be fair in that, or what have you. Really, really good time there. Um, I didn't even get to mention one of the. Sorry, there's just so much I'm trying to get across, but yeah, it's just a really great time in music overall. Oh right, Toby Mac. Okay, I should probably explain Toby Mac really quick. Although Toby Mac is really well known among Christians, most of his recent stuff's fuck it. I'm just gonna say most of his recent music sucks. I don't think he really made any good music or albums since like Tonight. I know people won't like me saying that, but it's kind of true because like in the first four albums that they made, well, more than four because there was a few remix albums, but there was like Momentum, and then there was Welcome to Diverse City, and then Portable Sounds, and then Tonight. I think after that, basically for Toby Mac, he got too popular among Christian types, and he just made this sort of typical worshipy Christian music that most people wouldn't be interested in. But the reason I wanted to bring up Toby Mac real quick is really kind of fascinating. The sort of thing you see nowadays with like Bruno Mars or The Weeknd, where they basically make nostalgia music, kind of nodding back to earlier sounds of like funk or something like that. Well, guess what? Toby Mac was doing that way earlier, like early mid 2000s. He was actually kind of ahead of the curveball there, doing like quasi nostalgia music with I wouldn't say funk, well yeah, funk to some extent, because they have one of those talk box guys they use it really well, especially in those early albums. And then I think he does put in a little soul in there too, and then old school like older school hip hop and whatnot. It's really fascinating. The sort of the thing that's fascinating is that his music is kind of a mishmash of all these different genres intermixed. They just kind of plays with all these different genres and does interesting stuff with it, which was really good. Yes. That's why I kind of got mad when he started making typical boring worship music. It's like, oh, great. You literally played with all these different genres and were kind of the head of the curveball of using nostalgic like music, like what Bruno Mars or The Weeknd does ahead of time, especially like Welcome to Diverse City, especially, but Portable Sounds too to an extent, and even Momentum to some extent, like J Train. J Train is such a crazy song. Listening to it, like, it's an interesting song to say the least. But you see what I mean. But yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to bring that up because I think that's kind of fascinating. And then he just tries to be like a lousy Christian version of like Justin Timberlake. It's just pathetic. And then Family Force 5, they had such an amazing, phenomenal sound in their early albums, and then they just try to make more like EDM style stuff, which was not as good, and you could obviously tell. It wasn't long after the Dance or Die album that happened. Thankfully, MXPX is always amazing. MXPX like always been consistent in doing fun pop punk stuff, even as far back as like even like the 90s when they started. They just they're very consistent and they're always fun to be around. Yeah. Sorry, I know I'm rambling about a bunch of different bands simultaneously. One band I gotta say is like Amberlin. It's tragic that Amberlin ended because like they were such a fucking great band. Even when they weren't making like epic rock epic songs that should be more well known, like Miserable Visu or Finn, they're making fantastic like just rock songs like City Electric, for example, or Blame Me, Blame Me. Damn good stuff. Yeah. Anyways, I suppose some albums, like rock albums specifically, that would be a good place to start. As I said, I think it's Vice Versa's album from Switchfoot, which I think is the best Switchfoot album they did, in my personal opinion. A damn good album. Well worth it. You know, even if you're not religious, like, that's a fucking amazing album. You can get, like, Children 18.3, I think it's called, album. Another amazing album. There's way more love and attention. You know, like, the early the early Family Force 5 albums, like Dance or Die. Dance or Die will always be the ultimate dance album, in my opinion. Like, if you want a real, fun party music that sounds like nothing else, Dance or Die is the album. Like, so good. But their earlier stuff is really good too. They also made a pretty fun Christmas album too. Yeah, Caspian. Fucking give some love to Caspian. For God's sakes, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. This band is so fucking good. I do not understand how it's so unknown to this day. Even if you're not religious, it's mostly instrumental work, man. It's mostly instrumental music, so you got like no excuses. It's fucking amazing instrumental rock music. Fuck yeah. I'm sorry, I don't even know what I'm trying to get with this. All I'm saying is this was an incredible, fascinating era of rock music. That Christians finally got rock music just as rock music was about to die out from popularity, and then they pretty much dropped the ball after that. And you know, actually helped make a lot of newer bands come out at that time that probably wouldn't have been made any other way, considering at that time, at least among sort of the rock establishment, you didn't really have many new bands coming out from mainstream rock, whereas ironically with Christian rock you had a lot of new bands coming out all the time. Yeah, like I said with the playlist here, you may not like every song on here, but there's a lot of songs on here that you'll probably like. It just depends on the type of rock music you like. But you know, it just, regardless of whether you're religious or not, this is a lot of great underrated music. right? And this is like really one of the only good examples of like modern music that happens to be Christian, directly Christian, that exists really, because the majority of Christian music kind of sucks. I don't want to get into that, but it does. Uh, yeah, I know. For a lot of music that's supposed to be written to give to God, they really, I don't know, they make really underwhelming music. I feel like God would be disappointed with them. It's like, really? You give me this shit? Really? Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Um, yeah. I'm sorry I rambled. I just felt like I just had to give credit to this. Like I grew up with it, nostalgia, because how I grew up. Um, and you know, like I said, maybe it is just a bias because of how I grew up with this music as a kid. But like I've listened to much of regular like secular music at this point. You know the Green Days, My Chemical Romances, etc., etc., etc. Like I listen to that. But I'm just saying, like a lot of these surprisingly Christian rock bands at this time, not all of them, but most of them, were fucking amazing. So yeah, you know, especially bands like Skillet, Under Oath at that time, Demon Hunter, As I Lay Dying, Amberlin, Blind Cave is really good. Um, different types of rock, of course, but like as I said, Children 18.3, um, Caspian, Showbread. The Showbread, fucking Showbread's so good. Showbread deserves more love. It's like go listen to some Showbread. Like fucking good stuff. Yeah. So sorry I rambled. Just thought I'd talk about this. Okay. Bye.